Okay guys, so just a quick one on the coolant mod. So this is your bypass for basically you're bringing a feed from your water pump to the back two cylinders of the engine block, and that gives you an additional 20% cooling. So what you need to know, I'm sure, look at the Diesel Mechan did a great video on this, very kind of simple, but I'm just going to go into it a little bit more detail. So essentially what you need to know is you need as he wrote it down in it, you need a 14.5 millimeter, I think it's 14 by 14.5, yeah, 14.5 millimeter drill bit. That gives you, it's actually 4.7 you need for an M16 thread. But 14.5 is perfect for aluminium. So after you drill your 14.5 millimeter hole, which I will just tell you, it is off centered in the in this detent here. So the original hole is off centered, and essentially it sends you down. But if you look at the back, it's perfectly centered on the back molding or casting of the housing, so it will look off center here in the front. So just bear that in mind when you're doing it. But anyway, after you drill your 14.5 millimeter hole, you then want to get yourself a M16 by 1.5 tap. I was using, now with aluminium you don't really need to, but I was using plenty of cutting oil just to make sure that everything went swimmingly, and you want to just send it in there nice and square, right? So that's that side of it. What you will need is for the engine drainage, so I'll go back over to that table now in a second, but what you will need for the engine drainage side of things is your drain plug for the engine, and it's aluminium. The block is iron, obviously, and what happens is it seizes itself in there. So you will get this out, so put a lot of torque on it, it will come loose. Well, at least mine did, and I don't believe it was ever not going to, but it left, as you can see, it left an awful lot of aluminium in there. So what I would say to you is, when you're ordering your wherever you're getting your M16 by 1.5 thread, that's M18 by 1.5. I just got a loan because I hadn't ordered ahead of time because I didn't think it was going to be an issue, but it was. So I ordered I got a loan of an M18 by 1.5 tap, and I just ran it in, and it just pulled, and I used a hoover to make sure everything was pulled out. So I hoovered it first, so it's pulling out all the kind of rust and stuff like that. But mainly what it's pulling out is the swarf from cutting that. So you will need to do that. I would be very surprised if it comes out clean, and if it does come out clean, somebody's been there ahead of you and put copper grease in or something like that. So anyway, bear that in mind. So an M18 by 1.5 thread will be handy as well. So then what you need is a couple of these. These are your hose clamps, and I had a good detailed look at what other people were doing and everything, and it seems to be very similar to it. Some people go and crimped on connections, others are just using these. So that is standard hose fitting, which will be a BSP fitting. It'll be a imperial measurement. All hoses and hydraulics are BSP. So what you'll need then is you will need something like this. So this is my pump end to it, so that is that connection there with a let's say, I don't actually know, is it a 1 inch or is it a 3/4 inch BSP down to M16. So that's your reducer there, and this side I have my M18 reducer there as well, or converter rather, because it's nearly the same size. So anyway, that gives you an idea of what you need. The hose that I'm using is a GP60. It's a hydraulic hose, minimum burst pressure of 60 bar, and it's an internal diameter of 13 millimeter. So it's a internal ID of 13 millimeter. These are rated quite high in, they're oil resistant and everything like that, but they're also rated quite high. They're made by Gates. They're rated quite high in heat temperature as well. Even though what I will do is I've got 1.5 meters of it here. I'm going to cut it down to size when I'm fitting it in. But what I will do is I'll run this underneath the engine mount. So I'll leave enough slack that it can go underneath the engine mount and back up. And obviously it needs to then do a turn. So if you can imagine this bend here, that's about as limited a bend as you're going to put onto it. So yeah, that's the coolant mod, guys. Very, very simple. I'm also going to wrap all of these with Teflon tape. I'm sure you could probably get crush washers or something like that, but I think just a bit of Teflon tape will be a nice watertight fit. Yeah, so I think that's everything you need to know. Be careful with the Schwartz. Make sure you kind of blow it out and everything like that. And ideally you would take off the actual pump off this side. But apart from that, you can be lazy like me and not want to split that. And just blow it out and make sure you get a good thorough tread on it and everything. I wouldn't over torque that either because it's such a thin sidewall here. So the Teflon tape will help with that because I won't be trying to crush anything. I'll just put Teflon tape on that piece and send it down to a nice pressure. Yeah, and get yourself an M18 by 1.5 tap or the loan of one. I got a loan of one. I drove it 5 minutes into town, got a loan of it, drove 5 minutes back out, ran it and was back to the guy within a half an hour with it back to him. I don't like taking a loan of tools. That's the M18 to I think 3/4 BSP juicer converter from BSP Imperial to metric. So yeah, that's that, guys. I hope you found that interesting. Hope it might have just cleared up some little questions you might have had and given you some tips and tricks. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.